Welcome back to Final Trade. Do you need to buy the D&D 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide? Now, I consume a reasonable amount of D&D content on YouTube from channels like WASD20 and Bob World Builder. He makes really great stuff, and DM It All and a couple others. And there's kind of this opinion that I see a lot, which is you could forego buying this book and just instead buy this book, Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master. Now, I kind of have a different view on this, and these are both great books, and I think they're both really good for beginner D&D players, but they serve ultimately different purposes. And let me kind of give you an example. In the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, you've got these great treasure tables. And so, depending on how you've set up encounters, you can decide what table you need to be into, depending on how much, total loot you want to give, things like that. And you can just do rolls real quick, and you can come up with different amounts based on challenge rating of the fight, stuff like that. And then it'll take those tables for treasure hoards, and it'll say it's this many pieces of gold or gems or objects or something, and then go into the magic item tables and roll this many times for each of the different magic item tables. And so there's a lot of real, nuts and bolts type stuff here, specific things. And that's what this book is really great for. I have one of my markers here that I use a lot, which is foraging. What kind of rolling would you do to decide how much food and water someone can find in the wilderness in a particular type of biome or something like that? It's got this section for traps. This is another example where it lists out how traps could kind of work, and it gives you ideas for a bunch of different types of traps, things like that. So, and then the downtime, I love the downtime because it's things like maintaining your equipment, running a business. What if your characters want to build a stronghold? How do they do that? How much does it cost? How long does it take? Real nuts and bolts type things. And that's what this book excels at. This book is ultimately different. This book will tell you things like, set up your adventure with a number of clue and secret cards. And so, use a 3x5 note card and write out the kinds of clues that you want your characters to encounter at some point during the game. And so, similarly, use cards and write out the most important NPCs, write out notes on the important places, things like that. And so this is more of technique, and this is specific information, okay? And so to make an analogy, let's say you are an auto mechanic. This would be the book that tells you, here's how to use a socket wrench. Here's how to loosen a stuck bolt without stripping the threads. But if you needed to know how to install the clutch on a 1997 BMW 325i, this is the book you would go to. And so that's kind of the analogy. I don't feel like either of these books replaces the other at all, but I've seen several D&D channels make the assertion that you can just skip the Dungeon Master's Guide and just go with this. I think they're both really valuable, and I think that if you're absolutely just starting out and you don't want to spend a lot of money because you're not really sure if you like D&D yet, get the Dungeon Master's Guide first. Now, it is the more expensive. This will generally run you $25 to $35, and this one will generally run you somewhere around $15 to $20. And so this is more expensive, but I think it's a better value, and I think after you've run a few games and you can decide, yeah, I like D&D, I want to play that more, then this is a good book to invest in. But when you're really new and you're kind of wondering, what if my characters get into a chase, or, what if they're tracking someone? How does that work? Because the player's handbook doesn't explain that kind of stuff. So this is the better book for those kind of questions, and for just taking more aspects of the story and putting it into a game type setting. Instead of it just being story, you say, okay, well, we're going to add some rules to this, and we're going to, have some rolls and have some randomness and some variability and things like that to make it more fun. So Ultimately, get both, but one does not replace the other, and get this one first. If you like this kind of content, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade. I'd love to have you. Thanks a lot.